She warned them to stay out. They didn't listen. So she made sure they'd never try again. Camille Brooks had earned every inch of the life she built. At 41, she took pride in her cozy 2-story home nestled in Mesa, Arizona, a place that felt like her own personal retreat. Tall palms shaded the yard, and at its center sparkled her favorite feature, a pristine aquamarine pool she meticulously cared for. She wasn't flashy, but she had every reason to hold her head high. No favors, no lucky breaks, just years of working overtime, budgeting smart, and refusing to quit. The neighborhood was a mix of retirees and young families, some chatty, some distant. Camille was fine with either. She wasn't trying to win anyone over, she just wanted to relax in her space. That peace didn't last. The first time something happened, she tried not to overreact. One sunny Friday, she got home from grocery shopping and spotted wet footprints trailing from the backyard gate out to the sidewalk. She assumed it was the meter reader, or maybe a contractor passing through. But then she noticed a damp towel draped carelessly over her fence. Her eyes snapped to the pool, water slightly lower than usual, the inflatable raft shifted, and an open sports drink bottle sweating on her patio chair. Someone had definitely been in her yard. She inhaled deeply, giving humanity the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was a dumb prank. Maybe some teen jumped the fence and chickened out. But when she casually brought it up to a few folks on her street, all she got were nonchalant responses. "Oh, it's probably just one of the neighborhood kids," one woman chuckled. "You know how teenagers are." Another neighbor, an older man polishing his truck, said without looking up, "Kids just being kids. That pool of yours is hard to miss." Something in his tone unsettled her, but she let it go. Instead, she reinforced the gate with a new padlock and crossed her fingers. But the problem didn't go away. The following weekend, as she relaxed in her den, she heard splashing, too rhythmic for a machine. Then came laughter. Her stomach dropped. She crept to the glass door and looked out. A boy, maybe 15, was backstroking through her pool like it was community property. A girl, possibly his sister, dangled her feet in the water. Camille yanked the door open. "Excuse me?" The kids jumped. The boy stumbled out of the pool, dripping and panicked. "I didn't think you'd be home," he mumbled. "We didn't think it'd be a big deal." "You didn't think to ask?" she snapped. "Who even are you?" The girl muttered something about living nearby, and then they both bolted through the side gate. Camille stood frozen, towel still damp in her hand, heart racing, disbelief hardening into something sharper. Camille marched straight to the equipment box, yanked open the lid, grabbed the remote, and killed the pool pump. Then she unplugged the speakers mid-song, cutting off the noise in an instant. "I'm calling the police," she said, loud and clear. That did it. In a sudden scramble, drinks vanished, towels were snatched up, and within minutes, her yard cleared out like someone had set off an alarm. Lena, though, had the nerve to roll her eyes as she passed by. "No need to freak out," she muttered. Nobody was hurting anything. Camille bit her tongue. Instead of yelling, she stood there stiffly, locking the gate behind them with a loud click. She crossed her arms, her chest tight with fury. One thing was crystal clear. This wasn't over. They had no respect for her boundaries, and if respect wasn't enough to keep them out, she'd find something that was. She had tried it all, conversations, warnings, cameras, padlocks, and none of it had made a lasting difference. So now, it was time to think outside the box. She sat at her kitchen table, replaying the security footage from earlier. The entitlement on their faces, the casual way they used her space like it was some public facility, it pushed her past frustration. She was done. If they wanted to treat her yard like a community pool, they were about to face some consequences. Her first stop was the hardware store, where she bought 2 industrial-grade locks, one for the gate, one for the control panel. The old ones had done the job temporarily, but these were next level, nearly indestructible. Then she went online and ordered something a little more creative, a harmless chemical used in public pools to expose unwanted behavior. Not chlorine, something sneakier. Pool dye. It wouldn't hurt anyone, but if someone decided to relieve themselves in her water, it would instantly turn neon green, like something out of a sci-fi movie. And that was just the beginning. Camille wanted a backup plan, something that would make even the boldest trespasser hesitate. So she had a custom warning sign made at a local print shop. The next morning, she bolted it onto her fence, just above eye level. Caution: pool treated with chemical agents. Unauthorized use may result in rash, itching, or temporary skin discoloration. Was it a little over the top? Sure. Was any of it technically true? Not really, but they didn't need to know that. To make it more convincing, she placed an empty industrial chemical container beside the filtration system, courtesy of a friend who worked janitorial for a nearby gym. And then, she waited. The following day, the sun blazed, the air thick with heat. Camille settled near the window sipping iced tea, keeping an eye on the yard. For hours, nothing happened. Then she spotted two teens strolling past the fence. They slowed down, glanced at the sign, stared at the container. One whispered to the other, eyes wide. A second later, they turned on their heels and walked off without a second glance. Camille leaned back in her chair, a slow smirk curling on her lips. Later that night, Lena, the same pushy neighbor from the last pool incident, was out walking her dog when she spotted the sign. She leaned in, read it carefully, then pulled out her phone and started typing furiously. A few minutes later, Camille opened her community app and, right on cue, there it was. A post in the neighborhood group, just a heads up, looks like Camille added some kind of chemical to her pool that supposedly causes skin reactions. Not sure how safe that is, but people should be aware. The comments started rolling in. Isn't that dangerous? Can that even be legal? Why is she so obsessed with keeping people out? It's just water. Camille let out a laugh. They weren't upset about a fake chemical. They were upset because the freeloading was over. She hadn't poisoned anyone. They were just mad their backyard getaway had been shut down, and if they wanted to test her bluff, she welcomed it. For the first time in ages, she felt calm. No more strangers invading her yard. No more soggy towels or beer cans. No more entitlement. Her little strategy worked. Or so she thought. Until the knock came. It was a Thursday evening, and the pounding on the door was sharp and annoyed. Camille set her drink aside and checked the peephole. Of course, Lena, arms folded, face tight with irritation. Camille braced herself and opened the door, her expression neutral. Yes? Lena didn't waste breath. We need to talk. Do we? Camille replied dryly. Lena exhaled hard. I don't know what your issue is, but people are saying you put something dangerous in your pool. Camille gave a slow blink, then a smirk. I did, she said evenly, to keep trespassers out. Lena's mouth tightened. You can't do that. What if some kid touches it? Camille crossed her arms. You mean a kid who isn't supposed to be in my yard in the first place? That's not the point, Lena snapped. It's exactly the point, Camille replied. I told people to stay out. They didn't. So I took steps. Lena scoffed. This is ridiculous. You don't even have children. That pool just sits there going to waste. Camille tilted her head. So because I don't have kids, my property becomes community property? Oh, come on. Don't act like... Lena started. No, you come on, Camille cut in. You and half this neighborhood think you're entitled to something you don't pay for. You don't pay my utility bill. You don't scrub the filter. But you feel entitled to swim like you own the place? Lena's cheeks flushed. Maybe if you weren't so cold, people would like you. Camille laughed, a real full laugh. That's the problem with you, Lena. You think being liked means letting people treat you like a doormat. Lena opened her mouth, reconsidered, then shook her head in exasperation. You know what? Forget it. Enjoy being the neighborhood grouch. Camille called after her, still smiling. Enjoy using your own garden hose this summer. Lena stomped away. Camille closed the door behind her, feeling no guilt, just satisfaction. They were irritated, sure, but the message had finally landed. And just to make absolutely certain, Camille took it one step further. The following morning, she installed motion-triggered sprinklers along the fence line. Anyone bold enough to sneak in again would be greeted with a chilly blast to the face. But the best part? She never even had to activate it. No one dared to come back. The days of mooching were over. After months of stress and disrespect, Camille had finally reclaimed what was hers. The pool? Peaceful again? The backyard? Undisturbed? That lingering sense of being taken advantage of? And she'd done it all without dialing 911. Not even once, because that was never her goal. She wasn't looking for a fight or trying to humiliate anyone. She simply wanted her space to be respected. But here's the truth. Some people only learn to respect limits when they're enforced. Camille had tried being patient. She had spoken calmly, asked nicely, tried every reasonable option, and they ignored her, again and again. But the second she changed tactics, everything stopped. Because people will always take what they can get. Your time, your energy, your space, your peace, until you draw a line and hold it. So, was Camille being dramatic? Maybe to some. But was she wrong? Absolutely not. Now let me ask you, have you ever had to push back when people cross the line? Or if it were you in her shoes, how would you have handled it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear your take. And if this story hit home, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap that notification bell for more. Thanks for watching. And remember, boundaries aren't rude. They're necessary.